On the surface, Chihiro Furuya is your typical high school boy. What sets Chihiro apart from boys his age is his intense love for zombies. Now meet the noble Rea Sanka, who is constantly burdened with her family's expectations. With Ree's desire to be reborn as something else and Chihiro's love for a zombie girl, will the two end up getting their wishes granted? Let's find out. The story begins with Chihiro watching a zombie movie while he daydreams of a romance with a zombie. When he gushes about his outlandish fantasy, Chihiro's friends tell him that his dream to slay the heart of a young zombie girl will never come true. The following night, Chihiro has dinner with his elderly grandfather, father, sister, and Babu the cat.
Bob.
As someone whose mother died, Chihiro finds his life happy and complete until one unfortunate day when he loses Babu to an accident. As Chihiro mourns the loss of a beloved family member, a thought pops up in his head. He fishes out a manuscript that contains the art of resurrection. After digging out Babu's body, Chihiro uses an abandoned building as his laboratory. 2 days later, Chihiro sees a black-haired beauty screaming her lungs out. Chihiro makes his way to school with his friends, Magi and Yasuda. Yasuda excitedly tells Chihiro about Rea Sanka, the principal's daughter who enrolled this year in Sanka Girls Academy. The following night, as Chihiro works to bring Babu back to life, he hears footsteps. Rea sits down and begins to vent about her life and her wish to be born as someone else. While screaming in frustration about how her father takes naked photos of her to measure her growth, Chihiro gasps loudly in surprise and ends up revealing his presence. After some awkward small talk and harmless teasing, Chihiro shares his plans for resurrecting Babu. Rea excitedly offers her help, which surprises Chihiro. Rea watches her first zombie movie with Chihiro. He dejectedly informs Rea that he has tried all the poisonous herbs to make the concoction work. Rea suddenly gets up and tells Chihiro that she'll come back with an herb right away. As she's on her way, Rea stumbles and flashes her panty to Chihiro, whose pupils dial up in response. Rea thinks about her childhood and her father's obsession with her. Danichiro made sure Rea was secluded all her life. Ree's only company was her mother, Aria, who didn't care much about her. Every year, Danichiro would take naked pictures of his daughter. It wasn't long until Rea realized that they weren't a normal family. When Rea made her first friend, she confided in her about Danichiro's bizarre behavior. After her friend encouraged her to stand up against Danichiro's wishes, for the first time Rea opposed her father's whims. The next day, her friend and her family were forced to relocate. It was then Rea came to the conclusion that people would continue to suffer if they got in Danichiro's way. As Rea fetches the herb, she tells Chihiro to resurrect her if she dies. After mixing up the herb, Chihiro feeds the elixir to Babu. Unfortunately, Babu remains as dead as he was before. When Chihiro decides to bury Babu, he takes note of Ree's limp. Within seconds, Rea is lifted from the ground and placed on the bike. After dropping her off at home, Chihiro tells Rea to come to Babu's funeral. As Rea makes her way inside, Danichiro catches her and slaps her. At home, Chihiro and Ranko open the box and find Babu springing off in the night. Meanwhile, Rea decides to drink the elixir in an attempt to take her life. Ree's plan to die doesn't work out, as she finds herself alive the next day. As much as it hurts her, she cheerfully greets Danichiro and Aria. Danichiro apologizes for his behavior but sternly tells Rea that she won't be attending school. After exiting the room, Rea hears Danichiro ordering his servant to castrate Chihiro. Meanwhile, Maro and Ranko watch Chihiro as he tries to persuade Babu the zombie cat to come down from the tree. When Babu jumps inside a tunnel, Chihiro begins to follow after the cat. As his older cousin, Ranko follows Chihiro inside the tunnel but ends up getting stuck because of her big butt. On the other hand, Rea approaches a touch-starved Yasuda in order to warn Chihiro of the imminent danger. When she learns that Chihiro isn't at school, Rea begins to look for him. Babu leads Chihiro to the hydrangea field, the very herb that completed the concoction. As Rea limps her way up the cliff to reach Chihiro, Danichiro appears on the scene and tells Rea it's not too late to make amends. As the two engage in a heated conversation, Babu jumps between Rea and Danichiro. With his severe allergies, Danichiro tries to hit Babu but ends up pushing his beloved daughter to her death. The clouds begin to weep as Rei lies motionless. In a state of shock, Chihiro suddenly hears Rei calling his name. With guts gushing out, Rei rises from the dead and falls into Chihiro's arms.
約束通り責任取ってくださいね
Rei smiles darkly as she tells Danichiro that she's dead and no longer his daughter. In the bathtub, Danichiro wonders where it all went wrong. The maids gossip among themselves about how Rei ran away from home with a boy. Aria angrily reprimands the maids and hurries inside the bathroom, where she asks Danichiro about Rei. He angrily tells her that Chihiro Furuya tainted his daughter. For someone who died, Rei appears to be calm and collected. This annoys Chihiro as he tries to shake some sense into her. He asks her if she's fine with her situation. Rei smiles and says that she's happy because this is her first time in a boy's room. A valid reason to become a zombie. Chihiro asks Rei if she knows about the consequences of being a zombie. She says that it doesn't matter since he promised to take responsibility for her. When Chihiro asks what she means by that, Rei tells him that she just wants to lead a normal life. Suddenly, Rei leans closer to Chihiro when Ranko calls Chihiro outside. After returning home, Chihiro finds Rei naked on his bedroom floor. He gets a nosebleed as he thinks about how his wish has come true. Chihiro asks Rei what she's doing undressed. Rei slurs out that her body is hardening. Chihiro's mind starts racing as he tries to find ways to preserve Rei's body. As Rei's body experiences rigor mortis, Chihiro grows concerned about her fate. While placing Rei in the closet, Chihiro slips and ends up in an awkward position with Rei on top. As someone who has dreamed of having a naked zombie girl, Chihiro gets determined to save Rei. Ranko makes her way to the Sanka household to ask about Rei. On her way there, she meets Hurin, Rei's classmate, who tells her how Rei had a look of gloom on her face. As the head of the temple, Dune assigns everyone cleaning duties. While scrubbing the floor, Chihiro thinks about how he's wasting time when he should be looking after Rei. Dune comes over to Chihiro and says that he heard that he brought home a new cat. Chihiro insists that it's Babu, and his senile grandpa chimes in agreement. Chihiro's grandfather mentions that it's because of his resurrection elixir. Upon hearing this, Chihiro pesters him to provide more information on the elixir, but the old man starts babbling about something entirely different. Ranko makes her way to Chihiro's room. As she schemes through Chihiro's collection of movies, she finds a strand of long black hair. Out of impulse, Ranko checks the closet. A sigh of relief leaves her mouth when she finds nothing inside. Suddenly, Rei hovers over Ranko. Chihiro rushes to his room and discovers Rei licking Ranko. Upon noticing Chihiro, Rei embraces him tightly. When there's no room for Chihiro to escape, Rei puts her mouth on his. After a long, passionate kiss, Rei sits back and watches Ranko accuse Chihiro of her murder. Their attention diverges from each other when they see Rei following after Babu. Chihiro orders Ranko to get his grandfather while he goes after Rei. Chihiro watches Rei and Babu eat hydrangea leaves. He notes how after eating the leaves, Rei seems to be coming back to her old self. When Rei gains her consciousness, she loudly yells after finding herself naked. Chihiro throws her a shirt and goes to check on his grandfather. Chihiro's grandfather informs him that the elixir is insufficient and that the hydrangea leaves will only slow the decay process. When Dune discovers Rei, he asks Chihiro about her. Seeing Rei's distress, Chihiro finally mans up and asks his father to let Rei stay with them. Dune grants him permission by saying that it's nice to see him interested in something other than zombies. Little does he know that he's housing a zombie girl. Chihiro decides to document Rei every day with a camera. He lustfully tells Rei to show more of her body. When Rei shields herself, Chihiro cunningly tells her that it's purely for research purposes. Later, the two go out for a walk. And Chihiro thinks about how on the surface, they look like a normal couple. Rei stops and tells Chihiro that being a zombie was the best outcome for her as she got to meet him and experience freedom. As Rei's thanking him, Chihiro thinks about how her body will rot. He promises Rei that he'll take responsibility for her. Ending the part 1 of the story. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to find out if Chihiro manages to preserve Rei's body or not.